First things first, my biggest change this week, I got contacts. So no more glasses. Thankful. Now, let's get into today's video. Well, that was more intense than what I expected, but it makes such a big difference. Today, we are tackling the workhorse in my kitchen, the island. I want to refinish the top and organize the cabinets underneath. Let's get started. The island is the heart of our home. You can see it from the front door when you walk in, and it is in the middle of our main living space, and it is the sole reason that my kitchen even functions efficiently. I wanted to update this island so that it can kind of carry us through until we're ready to tackle a much bigger renovation. We need to save some funds, things like that, but it needed a little bit of a facelift. When we get to our big renovation project, we are wanting to even change the floor plan, so this little minor project is going to help it last a little bit longer before we do. So our kitchen is really wide but shallow. So I have about 20 feet from one end of my kitchen to the other, but only about 10 feet front to back. The range and refrigerator are side by side and have very little space in front of it. The island has become kind of our main work center. We prep all of our food there. We set things out from the refrigerator. We chop vegetables. All of that happens on that island. This is also where our pots and pans are stored and is the midway point between everything in our kitchen. One end of our kitchen has a wall of cabinets and countertops, but it is so far away from the actual cooking space that I try to avoid even going down to that end of the kitchen. So instead I choose to use the island and have everything kind of right at my fingertips. So today we are going to refinish the top, which is made of butcher block, and organize the chaotic mess that's in the cabinets underneath. This surface has also not been well maintained over the years, and it has been about 10 years since anything was really done to it. And so there's spots where the finish is worn off, there's water rings. We're gonna fix all of that by going ahead and sanding down the countertop and refinishing it. And the biggest reason is that I want this to be able to last us another 3 to 5 years before we do the big kitchen renovation. I want to clear off the cabinet. This is one of the reasons when I was doing my fall decorate with me, I kept it really simple with just this fall garland and one pumpkin and nothing much else, because I knew that I was going to be doing this project. I ended up having to actually even clean this island before I filmed the before, because it turns into just what my dad calls a crap catcher. So if you have a crap catcher in your house, what do you call it? Let me know down in the comments below. So you'll notice when I first started the sander, it's wanting to walk all over the island and skip and jump and was really hard to handle. I would get a couple passes in, and then the backing plate, which is what the sandpaper sticks to, became so wobbly that I don't feel like I could safely use it. I tried tightening all the screws and everything down extra tight. I even tried using the drill, but it wasn't wanting to stay tightened. So I got out my trusty friend Google and did some research and figured out that the main screw that holds that tight was lacking locking adhesive. So there is a blue looking adhesive that's supposed to be on those screws, especially in vibrating tools like this. So I looked it up at Lowe's and they have it. So I went and picked it up. I chose to use the Loctite Blue 242 removable locking adhesive. This is so later on if I need to change anything or remove that screw, it's still removable, but it doesn't vibrate itself loose. So that's what we're going to use. I was told that it can make a mess, so I'm going to use this paper towel to kind of contain that. You need scissors to cut off the very tip, and then I put just a little bit on the screw itself and a little bit down in where the screw is going to go so that it makes complete coverage. And then I put the screw in and tighten it down. It recommends letting this adhesive cure for the full 24 hours before using the tool. And so I did just that because I want to be as safe as possible. So I decided now would be the perfect time to tackle the cabinets. You're not prepared for this, I'm telling you. When we first moved in, I removed some of the worn out pots and pans and then just added mine to the mix. I didn't clean it, I didn't organize it, I just kind of shoved it all in there and went on because we had so many things that we needed to unpack and things to do. And as you can see, it's a complete mess. So it's really hard to get pans out. It's also really hard to put pans away, and it's just turning into a non-functioning kitchen, and I don't want that. We cook the majority of our meals here at home, and I want to be able to have that kind of easy to both cook, clean, and put away. And I also want it to be simple so that my husband can also put stuff away when I need him to, and him not be trying to figure out how the puzzle kind of goes back together. I also noticed when I was starting to pull things out that the pot lids were at the opposite end of the island from the stove. So I wanted to make sure those were closer to the stove because that's where I'd be using them, and that my cutting boards would be where the pot lids were so that they're closer to the knives when I'm doing meal prep and things. So I pulled everything completely out of the cabinets. I took my vacuum and vacuumed any crumbs and dust, and then wiped it down. And then instead of putting the white wire racks back in the back where they were, I decided to stack some of our items that we use the least in the back because we don't use them every day, so I don't need quick access to them. And so I stacked those in the back, and then I moved the wire racks to the front so that there's less stacking and unstacking of pans that I use on a daily basis. I also left our cutting board standing because I find that this is the most efficient way to pull just one cutting board or put them away. They're not weight on top of weight, it's just sliding it back into its place. Now, let's take a look at the finished product. It's so nice to have it finally clean. I don't feel like something's gonna fall out at me when I open the door, and I think that I'm gonna like this much, much better. All right, so now that the adhesive has set for the full 24 hours, let's try getting this started again. Remember, I chose to start with a 150 grit to remove all of the old finish off the cabinet first. While I am sanding, I am trying to keep the sander as level as possible because I don't want any like ripples in the wood or divots or wearing out the sandpaper more on one spot than others. And the biggest thing is to not put any pressure on the sander. You are inhibiting it from doing its job, so it's not going to get you anywhere any faster. It's actually going to slow you down. Next, I vacuumed off the surface so that I could assess kind of where I was at, how much more I needed to sand, and any areas that I needed to focus on. Next, I made a second pass over the area and then cleaned it off and reassessed again. Then I switched to 220, which is a finer grit sandpaper, so this is more of a finishing, making sure everything's smooth, making sure that the stain will go on evenly. I then repeated the process. So I sanded, I vacuumed and cleaned it off, I assessed, I focused on a new area and repeated until it was completely sanded. Then I vacuumed it off one last time and took a tack cloth, which is a little bit of a sticky type of cheesecloth, and wiped it all completely down to make sure there was absolutely no dust left on the surface so that it wouldn't get in the stain and ruin the staining. Then I took a damp cloth and wiped down the entire surface so that it would swell the grains of the wood so it was ready to accept the stain, and then I let that completely dry. I then took pre-stain because the countertop is made of pine, so it's a soft wood and needs that extra step so that the stain doesn't go on blotchy. You wipe this on, let it sit for 5 minutes, and then wipe off any excess, and then repeat if you choose to. I only did 1 coat of the pre-stain. Now is the part that I was looking forward to the most. Seeing exactly how the stain color we chose looked on our surface. Similar to the pre-stain, the directions state to apply in the direction of the grain, wait 5 minutes, then wipe it off, and apply as many coats until you achieve the stain color that you would like.
Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights.
After 2 coats, I was very happy with the color, so I decided to clean up and kind of put things away and let it cure completely overnight before I did the clear coat, so that it was completely dry, because it does say to wait at least 4 hours, but I wanted it to be fully dry before I applied the clear coat. However, when I was showing my husband kind of how it was looking, we noticed that there was a section that it felt like wasn't accepting the stain at all. So we're thinking that maybe when I was sanding, I didn't get that area as good as some of the others because I was kind of in a hurry wanting to get it done. And so we made the decision to go ahead and pull the sander out and take care of that spot, because it is in such a main part of the island. It's not like it would be hidden by decorations or covered. It would always be exposed. So I wanted to go ahead and sand it before I put the clear coat on it.
Really wanna know if I will ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for.
So when I did that, it cleared it right up, and I think that's exactly what was happening, because when I reapplied the stain, did the 2 coats, it looks just like the rest of the countertop now, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. So I've decided to complete the clear coat off camera. It's going to take about an entire day to do that entire process alone, and with curing and things like that before we can use the countertop. And so I wanted to give you kind of an idea of what it looks like with a few decorations on it. So I staged it, took some pictures and some videos, and I'm letting it dry some more. It is still a little bit wet, so I wanted to let it dry probably overnight again, but the clear coat we chose is a clear matte, so it'll look pretty close to the way it does now once the clear coat is on. I wanted something that wasn't reflective because the sun from one of our side windows hits that countertop, and with a glossy or satin finish, it reflects into your face, and I don't want to do that. So this is my very first refinishing project, and I learned so much by completing it. First, using an orbital sander is an arm workout. Everybody makes it seem very easy, but that thing will drag you across the countertop pretty well. Second, dust is literally everywhere. Every surface in our main living area has dust on it, and it's probably going to take me 3 or 4 days to get all of the dust cleaned up. It's in every nook, cranny, and crevice, on every tabletop. It's even on the furniture. And then now with the dogs, I have little dust paw prints on our couch and chair. And third, be patient. I tried to rush the first steps, and sanding and the prep work are the very most important things for these type of projects. So in the future, when I do more of these, I'm going to remember that I need to take my time and make sure that things are sanded and fully prepped like they are supposed to be. I am looking forward to doing so many more of these projects in the near future. If you liked today's video, you should watch this one where we tackle our guest bathroom and give it a refresh. It's another project that we did so that we could save money for a bigger renovation later, and it happens to also be my second ever YouTube video. Until next time, bye.